Hi there, I'm Andrew Smiley. I'm the director of TreeFolks, and I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you the story of TreeFolks. I'll share a little bit of the history, where we came from, our progression through the years, and all the different programs, projects we've been involved in, and then I'll share a little insight into our vision and where we're headed next. So, TreeFolks was founded by a group of friends who decided one winter solstice evening that they were going to save the world. And to save the world, they decided planting trees was something that they could do with their families and in their own communities. And so they did. They started planting trees in their yards, neighbors' yards, school yards, parks, libraries, medians. And as their effort grew and gained more attention, well, they started getting the attention of the Austin Independent School District and City of Austin government. Those two entities started supporting TreeFolks and really encouraging more tree planting. And TreeFolks continued to grow as a community tree planting organization. Of course, we couldn't plant all the trees ourselves, so we started giving away free trees to folks that they could plant in their own yards. And, planting trees is only part of it. So we developed educational programming to teach people about how to plant trees properly and also how to care for trees so that they survive long term and become part of our urban canopy to sequester carbon, to generate oxygen, to help filter rainwater, to provide wildlife habitat, and even in some cases to provide food for humans. In fact, pecans are one of my favorite trees. I don't have one single favorite. I like them all, but pecans are right up there near the top. So that was our core function for 20 years or so, was working in the city center in Austin to plant trees, to distribute trees, and to teach people how to care for trees. Of course, it's not all about the trees, it's also about the folks, right? Tree folks. So none of this work would have happened without all of the committed volunteers over the years, all the community members, all the community leaders who joined forces to help get those trees distributed, to help plant the trees and to teach others about trees. So the folks are just as important as the trees in our work. I mentioned that was our work for 30 years, up until 2011, when we were asked to come down to Bastrop and help lead the reforestation effort following the Bastrop wildfire. So one reason that we were asked to come down and help lead the reforestation effort after the Bastrop wildfires that destroyed a huge section of the Lost Pines region was because we knew trees, obviously. But the other part was because we could mobilize volunteers. And at that time, it was really important to engage the community in the healing process following that disaster. So over the years, we've planted a little over 2 million loblolly pines in that region. And even today, we continue to distribute pines to landowners to maintain the reforestation and to replace trees that may have died in, for example, the recent freeze or drought. So we are still committed to that effort in Bastrop to restore that critical ecosystem. It was a few years later when we were called again after a major disaster to support the reforestation effort along the Blanco River, this time after the floods of 2015. So as a result of the 2015 floods along the Blanco River, folks in Wimberley and surrounding areas suffered property loss, tree damage of course, but especially sensitive was the loss of life there. So TreeFolks again was asked to come and help with the reforestation with our tree knowledge, with our ability to really involve the community in that healing process, but also to incorporate educational programming to ensure that landowners knew the importance of trees along their river. Trees help prevent erosion along creek banks, and they can help slow down and intercept floodwaters. And it's that rapid moving water that really is destructive for trees. So the educational work, the tree planting, and the community volunteering continued to be a core function of TreeFolks, even though we were now working in Austin and outside of Austin. So today our core programming remains planting trees in the community, distributing trees to residents here in Austin, teaching people about trees, And we're still involved in large-scale reforestation work, only this time we're taking a proactive approach. Our reforestation program is no longer really designed as a post-disaster tree planting. Instead, we're mitigating the impact of climate change before we feel the worst of it. That is, planting trees on a large scale in hundreds of acres around a 6-county region surrounding Austin. So this regional approach results in floodplains planted with trees that create habitat, that sequester carbon, that also help prevent erosion and help intercept and slow down those floodwaters. And besides, they really are part of the beautiful landscape. So all of those elements of trees come together in our reforestation program, where we also sequester carbon credit, or we generate carbon credits through the Carbon Plus Credits program. We trade those credits with the City of Austin and with other entities to help with their zero carbon goals. So our core work remains: giving away trees, planting trees, teaching people about trees, and we're doing it not only on a focused small scale here in the city, but also really large scale outside the city. The future of our work will really involve addressing equity and social justice when it comes to tree canopy cover and when it comes to addressing climate change. We know that folks who are of lower means and lower income are more susceptible to the impact of climate change. Without the resources to evacuate before a disaster, or really resources to recover after a disaster, you can see how some of our neighbors can really feel the impacts more than others. So it is important for us to work within communities to hear from neighbors what is important to them when it comes to trees. How can TreeFolks work help our neighbors reach their own goals when it comes to tree planting and climate change resilience? So we'll continue that work as a focused effort in the city, while at the same time maintaining our regional approach to rebuilding our forest around Austin and protecting our critical floodplains and riparian zones. That is the future for our work. We will continue planting trees, giving away trees, educating people about trees, and we'll continue mobilizing volunteers and engaging with community to accomplish our mission. And that mission, which hasn't changed much over the years, is still to empower Central Texans to build stronger communities through planting and caring for trees. So thank you for letting me share a little bit of information about TreeFolks. You can always find us online, treefolks.org, and we have a pretty strong presence on social media, so you can find us there, or just give us a holler anytime. We'd love to sit down and talk with you, or even bring you out to some of our project sites so you can see our work in action and even take part in it and plant some trees yourself. So thank you again.